There aren't a lot of story questions in the SAT about quadratic formulas. It's not something that comes up a lot for some reason. Normally we're dealing with lines and we have y equals mx plus b equations. Obviously we don't have that here, but I think the same rule kind of applies. Is the reason we like y equals mx plus b is that we can kind of memorize what those pieces mean very easily, right? The m is the slope, the b is the y-intercept, the x and the y are points on the line. Quadratics behave the same way. The only difference is that a quadratic equation has lots of different formats and it tells us different things. And so we have to kind of memorize what all the different formats mean and what we're supposed to kind of get out of them. And I have a page in my math study guide that is like a great summary of all the different things, vertex form, standard formula, root formula, and how it all works together. And so hopefully you can recognize that this is the standard form, which we normally think of as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, see how it kind of lines up, right? They switched out x for t, and then we've got the y instead of the h of t, right? I mean, that's just a function notation thing. But all the other pieces seem to fit together, right? And so we need to memorize what this tells us. In particular, we need to memorize what is the purpose of 72. What is the c term going to tell us? And if you've memorized it, this is really easy. This is going to tell us the y-intercept. Okay? So the y-intercept is always going to be an x-coordinate of 0, and in this case, a y-coordinate of 72, right? It's where it crosses the y-axis. So what would that mean in the context of the story? Well, that's now what we're going to find out as we go through the choices, but the first step is really to just know what it means in the context of a parabola, right? Once we do that, we can kind of think it through more easily, right? So if it's the initial height in feet, that kind of fits also with what our expectation is for what a y-intercept is with a line, right? When we have a line, the y-intercept is usually the starting value, and it's kind of going to be the starting value here as well. So that's going to be my answer, because initial height, look at initial, right? What is x here? X is 0. So in this case, we're being told that the time is time 0, the initial time, the starting point. And then 72 is the height, because that's what y represents. Let's look at the others though. The maximum height in feet of the object. This would kind of be the vertex, or more accurately, the y-coordinate of the vertex. The initial speed in feet per second. Speed is not part of this. There's some calculus we can do to figure that kind of stuff out, but speed is not part of this story, right? It's height and it's time, so that's not part of it. And the maximum speed in feet per second, again, that's not part of it. Speed is not in this equation. We have time and we have height. Speed is not in the equation. That is a calculus thing that's not going to be on the test, so we're done there. Harder than what we normally see, because lines are easier and they come up more often, but same rules apply, and we got to memorize what these different formats of the quadratic equation tell us. The standard form only really tells us the y-intercept, and then just as a little bonus, the a term tells us whether the parabola opens up, if it's a positive a, or down if it's a negative. So in this case, this parabola would look something like this. If I was just doing the part in the first quadrant, it would look something like that, right? Y-intercept of 72, and then some point down here, and opens that way. Yeah, study this, and this shouldn't be a problem.